What's y'all's favourite genre of player? The small target man. Welcome to the Attacking Football YouTube channel where we are diving into an underrated type of football player. Let's begin, but first make sure to smash that like and subscribe button and let us know what your favourite type of player is in the comments. Football is a sport that celebrates diversity in all its forms, whether it's the culture, tactics, or physical attributes of the players. The game brings together a bunch of different styles and personalities. Players come in all shapes and sizes, and each one brings something unique to the table. Just think about it. On one hand, you've got the tiny but explosive Lorenzo Insigne, who stands at just 5'4", making darting runs and weaving through the fences like a knife through butter. Then on the other end of the spectrum, there's Peter Crouch, a 6'7" colossus who's gonna stick out on the pitch. But that's the beauty of the beautiful game. It has room for everyone, from the agile Lionel Messi to the absolute powerhouse that is Adebayo Akinfenwa. Look, we all want Look, we all love watching the dazzling footwork of players like Neymar or the brute strength of someone like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but there's a unique kind of satisfaction, an art form if you will, in watching a smaller player rise above the towering defenders and heading one into the back of the net. Imagine someone like Raheem Sterling leaping into the air and beating William Saliba to a header and the ball flying into the back of the net. It's like defying the laws of nature, or at least the laws of physics. Watching someone you'd normally expect to be outmuscled or outjumped by a taller opponent somehow manage to come out on top, it's nothing short of exhilarating. That's why today we're shining a spotlight on the small men who play like giants in the air. Enter the small target man. When you think about this genre of player, one name immediately comes to mind: Tim Cahill. The Australian brute was a key figure for David Moyes' Everton, and despite being just 5 feet 8 inches tall, he was the man bringing down long balls and dominating in the air. How did he do it? It wasn't just about physicality, it was pure tenacity, incredible timing, and a leap that could rival a basketball player's. Cahill wasn't just jumping for the ball, he was launching himself with a kind of ferocity that made you believe he had springs in his legs. Now, here's a stat that'll blow your mind. Cahill is ranked 10th in the Premier League for most headed goals of all time. Yep, 10th. And get this, 55% of all his Premier League goals came from his noggin. That's more than half. It's proof that you don't need to be 6 feet tall to outjump the Goliaths in defence. And it wasn't just the quantity of goals he scored with his head, it was the timing of those goals. Cahill had a knack for scoring crucial headers, often pulling Everton out of the fire with a well timed leap and a bullet header that would leave the opposition goalkeeper rooted to the spot. But let's dive into it. But let's dive a little deeper into what made Cahill so special in the air. First off, his anticipation was second to none. He always seemed to be one step ahead of the defenders, reading the trajectory of the ball and positioning himself perfectly to attack it. He never positioned himself at the front post because there was a higher chance of the ball going over his head. Yo, this wasn't just instinct. It was something he worked on tire. This wasn't just instinct. It was something he worked on tirelessly in training. Cahill would spend hours honing his timing, perfecting his jumps, and learning how to use his body to shield the ball from taller defenders. He knew he wasn't going to outmuscle a 6'4" centre back, so he focused on outsmarting them instead. Another key aspect of Cahill's aerial prowess was his fearlessness. He was never afraid to put his head where it hurt, diving into challenges that other players might shy away from. This fearlessness this fearlessness combined with his incredible timing and leap made him one of the most dangerous aerial threats the Premier League has ever seen. And let's not forget his celebration, the iconic shadow boxing routine which became synonymous with his headed goals. And Cahill has even given tips in an interview with Jeff Shreves on how he became great at heading, and it's something other small players could use. The first one, strategic positioning. Instead of heading directly to the front post where aerial duels are fiercest, small target men often drift to the back post or find pockets of space where they can exploit weaker defenders. By identifying the slowest or least agile defenders, they increase their chances of winning. Number 2, perfecting the run. Timing is everything. These players wait for the exact moment to start their run, often holding back until the ball is about to be delivered. This allows them to arrive in the box with momentum, giving them a better chance to rise above defenders. Work on the Number 3, work on the training ground. Small target men spend countless hours on the training ground perfecting their jumping and heading technique. They work on their leap, practicing how to time their jump to meet the ball at its highest point. The key is to ensure that they head the ball cleanly, using the right part of the forehead to direct the ball with power and accuracy. Number 4, understanding your teammates. Knowing how teammates move is crucial. Small target men must have a deep understanding of their team's attacking patterns. This allows them to anticipate where and when the ball will be crossed, giving them an edge over them taller defenders. Number 5, exploiting weaknesses. A small target man knows how to exploit a defender's weakness. Number 5, exploiting weaknesses. A small target man knows how to exploit a defender's weaknesses. This might mean targeting a defender who struggles to turn quickly or one who is weaker in aerial duels. Number 5, exploiting weaknesses. A small target man knows how to exploit a defender's weaknesses. This might mean targeting a defender who struggles to turn quickly or one who is weaker in aerial duels. By identifying these weaknesses, they can position themselves to capitalize on these moments. Number 6, maintaining fitness. To keep making these intelligent runs and winning aerial duels throughout the game, high fitness levels are essential. Small target men train extensively to maintain their stamina and explosiveness, allowing them to keep making those crucial runs deep into the match. By combining these elements, small target men can effectively compete against much larger opponents, turning their perceived disadvantage into a unique strength on the field. Now that we know these key strengths, who are some other small target men? Now, truth be told, the player who really Now, truth be told, the player who really sparked my Now, truth be told, the player who really sparked my obsession with this kind of player was Sadio Mane. Watching him at Liverpool leaping into the air like a salmon during spawning season, it was nothing short of sensational. At 5 feet 9 inches, Mane was never the biggest guy on the pitch, but man, was he effective in the air. There's something almost poetic about watching Mane soar above much taller defenders, using his athleticism and timing to outjump players who have a significant height advantage. But here's something interesting. As incredible as aerial ability was, only 11% of his 221 career goals have come as headers. Surprising, right? However, in the 2018-19 season, Mane netted 22 goals to win the Premier League Golden Boot alongside Mohamed Salah and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And of those 25, and, uh, and of those 22, 5 were headers. So yeah, I'm counting them. Argue with me in the comments if you disagree. What makes Mane's aerial ability even more impressive is the context in which he scored those headers. Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp has been known for its high intensity, fast paced football, often characterised by quick transition. Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp has been known for its high intensity, fast paced football, often characterised by quick transitions and rapid counter-attacks. Mane's ability to pop in the box at the right time, often at the end of a fast break, and finish with a header speaks volumes about his football intelligence and positional awareness. He wasn't just relying on his athleticism, Mane was reading the game, anticipating where the ball would be and timing his runs to perfection. Another fascinating aspect of Mane's aerial game is his versatility. He's not a traditional target man by any stretch of the imagination. He's a winger, often tasked with cutting inside, taking on defenders, and creating chances for his teammates. Yet, when the situation called for it, Mane could transform into a lethal aerial threat, ghosting into the box and meeting crosses with pinpoint accuracy. This dual threat made him a nightmare for defenders who never kn- This dual threat made him a nightmare for defenders who never quite knew how to handle him. Do you stick tight to him and risk getting outpaced, or do you give him space and risk him getting on the end of a cross? Mane's aerial prowess added yet another dimension to his already Mane's aerial prowess added yet another dimension to his already formidable game. This next player might be a bit of a surprise to some, but maybe not to others. It's Dwight Yorke. The Trinidad and Tobago international is mostly remembered for his skill, flair, and partnership with Andy Cole at Manchester United. Together they formed one of the most lethal strike partnerships in Premier League history. But let's talk about his aerial prowess. Standing at the same height as Tim Cahill, 5 feet inches, Yorke managed to score 38 headed goals in his career. That's right, 38. In fact, 31% of all Yorke's goals were headers. That's nearly a third of his entire goal tally. Not only did the man have a knack for finding the back of the net, but he had a neck for it too. Literally. So for all the smaller players out there, don't worry. Cahill, Yorke, and Mane, and others have already proved that you don't need to be a giant to dominate in the air. They're out here doing God's work for you. Yorke's aerial ability was a key component of his game, especially during his time at Manchester United. Despite his relatively short stature, he was incredibly effective in the air, often getting the better of tall defenders with his timing, leap, and ability to read the flight of the ball. Yorke's heading technique was also a thing of beauty. He could generate power with his neck muscles. Yorke's heading technique was also a thing of beauty. He could generate power with his neck muscles, directing the ball with pinpoint accuracy, whether it was a bullet header from a corner or a deft flick from a cross. Yorke had the ability to score all types of headers, making him a constant threat in the box. One of the most iconic moments of Yorke's career came during the 1998 and 99 season when Manchester United completed the historic treble. Yorke was instrumental in that success, and his headed goals played a significant role in United's campaign. His partnership with Andy Cole was telepathic, and the duo combined for some of the most memorable goals in Premier League history. Yorke's ability to score with his head, despite his height, added yet another layer to United's attacking arsenal, making them one of the most feared teams in Europe. Now, let's take a moment to delve into the psychology of the small target men. What drives these players to succeed in an area of the game where they're often at a physical disadvantage? It's all about mindset. These players know that they're not going to outmuscle or outjump the tallest players, so they focus on what they can control. Timing, positioning, and a fearless attitude. Take Tim Cahill, for example. He once said in an interview that he loved the challenge of going up against bigger defenders because it forced him to be smarter and more determined. He knew he couldn't rely on sheer size, so he worked on perfecting every other aspect of his aerial game. This kind of mentality is what separates the good players from the great ones, and it just proves maybe size doesn't matter.